Joining me right now is Texas Congressman, House Energy and Commerce Committee member, and medical doctor Michael Burgess. Good to see you, sir. Thanks very much for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me on.
When does this shutdown become a real crisis concern? We are approaching this Friday when those furloughed workers will, in fact, lose and not get that paycheck. So how much longer can this go on, do you think?
Well, it hurts now. I mean, it's not that it's going to hurt on Friday. It hurts now, and it does need to end. I agree with the president. I'm so glad that he got the airtime last night and he spoke to the nation. It's so important to do that. It's difficult to do, to give an Oval Office address, but the president did need to focus the attention on this problem, and I'm grateful that he did. And I'll just say I'm also grateful that he's coming to Texas. I thought President Obama should have come to the border in Texas when he was down there in 2014. He refused Governor Perry's offer to do that. I think the president is exactly right to go to that lower Rio Grande Valley sector where so much of the problem, 40% of the illegal crossings that occur along the entire border occur in that sector. So the president will get a very good look at what the problems are up close and personal, and there's no substitute for going. You've got to go and see it to understand the problem.
Yeah, this is why we wanted you to talk to you. You're in a border state, and you could characterize and assess for us really how big a crisis this is. So characterize it for us right now. And then I want to play some sound of what the Democrats were saying just a few years ago. But first, assess the situation.
Well, again, on the lower Rio Grande Valley sector, it's difficult terrain. There's a lot of brush that, because of the ecological concerns, we're not allowed to clear on our side of the border. There need to be all-weather roads down there. So Customs and Border Patrol, one of the trips I took down there, where Customs and Border Patrol took me down to a site on the river, there was a point of frequent crossings. Their car got stuck. And so this is a problem that they have on a day-to-day basis. The other difficulty is when a large number of people come across, and they do all the time, when a large number of people come across, it ties up all of their personnel. And so upriver or downriver, there can be methamphetamine, cocaine, or fentanyl coming across the border undetected because everyone is focused on the humanitarian aspect of, we've got 45 women and children here in the hot sun in the rough Texas terrain. So it is critically important that, Nancy Pelosi last night said we want to improve technology so we can detect illegal crossings. No, we want to prevent illegal crossings because that, in turn, does not dissipate the resources that we have to be able to apply for border security. Right. The president is exactly right on this. He needs the money to do his job.
You want to prevent, not necessarily just detect. But, what gets me is I know that last night Nancy Pelosi said that the president had misinformation, even malice, in his address. Meanwhile, just a few years ago, Chuck Schumer, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama all said that illegal immigration is wrong. Here's Chuck Schumer back in 2009. Watch this.
Above all else, the American people want their government to be serious about protecting the public, enforcing the rule of law, and creating a rational system of legal immigration that will proactively fit our needs rather than reactively responding to future waves of illegal immigration. People who enter the United States without our permission are illegal aliens, and illegal aliens should not be treated the same as people who enter the U.S. legally.
Why is nobody calling him out on the fact that he just said exactly what the president has been saying just a few years ago? So is this really just politics, playing politics with people's lives?
Well, of course it is. It's clashing ideologies, but I thank you for playing that clip. It's important that people hear that and remember what the rhetoric was just a few short years ago. And again, in 2014, President Obama said this is a humanitarian crisis on our southern border, and he demanded $3.8 billion in order to just the custodial aspects of taking care of unaccompanied minors who came across our border. Look, they may want to refute statistics, but there are 12,000 children right now in Office of Refugee Resettlement facilities that you can't just turn loose and put on the street of Laredo. You have to take care of them and place them with families, and we're obligated to place them with families who are going to look after them.
The president is the president of the country. It's on him. He's the leader here. So he's going to, at some point, have to, I mean, if they don't blink, it's going to be him. So what can he do to come up with some kind of an arrangement, some kind of a middle ground to get this government opened again?
Well, in my opinion, border security is national security. And the House did pass $716 billion defense appropriation that came into play October 1st of last year. Of that money, the president needs to take the $5.7 billion he needs for the immediate use on the border to provide border security. I know there are members on my side who do not like the idea of using defense dollars for non-defense purposes, but in my opinion, this is a defense purpose.
Yeah, and isn't there like $28 billion at the Pentagon that went unused last year?
Well, the problem is they always try to spend it right before the end of the fiscal year. But look, there's also $50 billion that the Democrats just said they want to give in foreign aid. So take the money from that foreign aid and use it to defend our border, and then we can look to helping people in other countries. But we need to take care of our people first.
They don't want to do that. They don't want to do, because then the president gets a victory. I mean, unfortunately, it feels like this is all about 2020 and not giving the president an opportunity to meet another campaign promise.
You are right on the money. But you know what? I'm happy to have the president's back in Congress. I feel like he has my back as a Texan. I'm glad he's going down there. I think it's important, and I'll continue to have his back in Congress.
Yeah, but people don't want to see this kind of fighting. Is this what the next 2 years are going to be like, Congressman, that everything the president wants, the Democrats are going to stop him so that nothing gets done in a 2-year period?
It's quite possible. I'll tell you, last night I was in a Rules Committee hearing. Now the Rules Committee is chaired by a Democrat, and 3 times the Democratic chairman of the Rules Committee used the word emergency. I agree. It's an emergency. You know what? I think it was an emergency last fall. I think the Senate Majority Leader should have suspended the 60-vote rule when we passed the appropriations bills earlier in the last Congress, and we could have just had them in place to begin this Congress. But yes, unfortunately, you have identified the correct problem, which is the 2020 election, and the Democrats are bound and determined not to give the president any victory, and that's what we're facing.
Congressman, it's good to have you on the program this morning. Thanks for your insights.
Thank you so much.
Congressman Michael Burgess there.